Listen closely. Hear that deep sputtering idle? That is not a museum piece warming up on the tarmac. That is the sound of pure backyard genius. Have you ever imagined looking up to see a machine that looks like it was built out of pure garage insanity? Now imagine seeing a literal car unfold its wings and take off from the highway. Today, we are looking at 10 home-built experimental aircraft that completely defy logic. These were built by everyday mechanics and engineers who refuse to stay grounded. We are going to dig into the raw specs, the terrifying test flights, and the sheer mechanical willpower it took to put these contraptions into the sky. Stay with me until the end, because the #1 spot solves the oldest aviation problem in history: how to drive home after you land. Kicking off our list at number 10 is the Airdrome Fokker Dr.1. Originating from Airdrome aeroplanes right here in the United States, this is a 3/4 scale replica of the infamous World War I triplane. But instead of relying on rotting wood and old-school canvas, modern garage builders construct this airframe using aircraft-grade aluminum tubing. These are joined by heavy-duty blind rivets powering this crimson beast. It is usually a converted Volkswagen Flat 4 or a beautifully complex Rotec radial engine. This gives it the authentic roar of a dogfighter without the century-old mechanical nightmares. This aircraft embodies the ultimate backyard genius narrative. Back in the day, a dedicated builder could assemble this entire airframe in their garage for roughly the cost of a used family sedan. It proved to the world that you did not need a multi-million-dollar factory or a military contract to own a legitimate fighter plane. The sheer audacity to build a triplane next to your lawnmower is exactly what makes the experimental aviation community so incredibly fascinating. It is universally respected among hardcore mechanics across the entire country. Remarkably, you can still buy these specific kits today. You can register them under the Federal Aviation Administration FAA experimental category and take them to the skies legally. Absolutely amazing. Building a historical replica is a fantastic weekend project that tests every ounce of your fabrication skills. However, if you want to hover in your own backyard on a shoestring budget, this next machine completely ditches the fixed wings entirely. Get ready to experience a whole new level of danger, because our next entry takes open-air flying to an absolute extreme. Coming in at number 9 is the Adams-Wilson AW-95 helicopter. Built on a welded chromoly steel tube frame, this is an open-frame, single-seat chopper powered by a screaming two-stroke engine. It is the absolute definition of bare-bones rotary flight. There is no cockpit, no protective fiberglass shell, and absolutely zero luxury. You sit directly exposed to the elements. You grip a cyclic control stick while the rotor blades spin furiously just inches above your head, cutting through the thick air with a deafening and rhythmic mechanical chop. Flying the AW-95 is certainly not for the faint of heart. Test pilots have described it as feeling like strapping a lawn chair to a massive industrial ceiling fan. Pure insanity. The creators specifically designed this machine to skirt strict federal regulations. They kept the empty weight incredibly low, sliding it right into the experimental and ultralight gray areas. The initial test flights were notoriously hair-raising. It required massive amounts of physical balance, steady nerves, and absolute mechanical trust in the tubular steel frame, welds that you made yourself. Original blueprints and paper plans today are still traded among hardcore do-it-yourself builders on internet forums. They keep the dangerous dream of the garage-built helicopter alive. Hovering completely exposed to the rushing wind is utterly terrifying. So, to solve that instability without losing the overhead rotor, backyard engineers turned to a forgotten 1930s configuration. They combined the best elements of fixed-wing stability with the unique vertical capabilities of a rotorcraft. This resulted in a hybrid machine that completely redefined what grassroots aviation could look like for everyday pilots. That brings us to number 8, the Littlewing Autogyro. Designed by Ron Herron, this unique machine utilizes a fascinating tractor configuration, truly innovative. That means the turbocharged Rotax engine is mounted in the very front, pulling the aircraft forward. Meanwhile, an unpowered free-spinning rotor on top provides all the lift. The fuselage is built using classic steel tube and fabric construction, giving it the nostalgic silhouette of a vintage Piper Cub. It is a brilliant blend of old-school aerodynamics and highly specialized rotorcraft engineering principles. Herron's absolute genius was combining the crosswind stability of a gyroplane with the proven rugged airframe of a conventional taildragger. Building a Littlewing cost a mere fraction of a factory-certified Cessna. Truly incredible. This made it a highly respected staple of grassroots aviation. It gave everyday mechanics the unprecedented ability to fly safely in rough weather conditions that would normally ground a traditional light sport aircraft. This machine proves that sometimes looking backward into aviation history is the best way to move forward in personal flight design. You can still spot these magnificent machines setting Autogyro world records at massive gatherings like AirVenture in Oshkosh. Rotors are fantastic for short and stable takeoffs from grassy fields. However, if you want pure aerodynamic efficiency, our next genius decided to chop off the tail completely. They created a design that looks more like a descending UFO than a traditional airplane. Prepare yourself. For a machine that throws conventional physics right out the window, while remaining surprisingly safe and stable in the open skies. At number 7, we have the Fauvel AV-36. Designed by Charles Fauvel in France during the 1950s, this is a tailless glider featuring a highly unconventional, swept-forward, thick airfoil wooden wing. It completely abandons the traditional tail section. It relies entirely on aerodynamic balancing and large rudders mounted directly on the trailing edge of the main wing. Constructing this airframe required meticulous woodworking skills. They utilized lightweight spruce and high-quality aviation plywood to create a smooth, highly efficient surface that could effortlessly slice through the rushing wind. To the untrained eye, the AV-36 looks incredibly dangerous, like a flying wing that is just begging to tumble helplessly out of the sky. Yet, Fauvel's brilliant airfoil design made the aircraft practically stall-proof and highly self-recovering. When aggressive test pilots deliberately tried to force the glider into a dangerous downward spin, the unique center of gravity and wing shape simply refused to let it fall. It dramatically proved that backyard aerodynamics can sometimes completely outsmart conventional, big-budget aviation engineering from major corporations. While undeniably vintage, the original detailed plan are still heavily guarded and carefully preserved by historical soaring societies around the world. Gliding silently on the thermal winds is a serene experience, but to conquer both the open sky and remote wilderness lakes, you need raw horsepower and a heavy-duty boat hull. Absolutely. The next entry on our list takes the concept of the flying boat and scales it down so perfectly that you could literally build it in a standard two-car suburban garage. Splashing down at number 6 is the Taylor Coot. Created by Moulton Taylor, the Coot is a two-seat home-built amphibian aircraft. It is powered by a robust Franklin engine pushing 180 horsepower. Very impressive. Unlike traditional float planes that have bulky, heavy pontoons bolted to the bottom, the Coot features a low-wing design integrated directly into a fiberglass boat hull. The wings literally act as sponsons to stabilize the aircraft in the rough water. It creates a highly streamlined profile that performs beautifully both in the air and on the lake. Taylor desperately wanted everyday blue-collar workers to have access to remote fishing spots without spending an absolute fortune on a massive Grumman goose. In the 1970s, for the price of a standard station wagon and raw materials, you could build this flying boat right at home. It was an economic miracle that democratized amphibious flight for the common man. Building the fiberglass hull required patience and precision, but the ultimate reward was a fully capable aircraft that could land practically anywhere there was water. Completed and airworthy Coots still occasionally pop up on the experimental aircraft market today. They are heavily sought after by adventurous bush pilots. Water landings provide a fantastic thrill. But let us shift gears entirely for a moment. Wait, before we get to our top 5 most extreme machines, did you know the total material cost of those first 5 aircraft combined in history was less than buying one single modern factory airplane? Unbelievable. If you respect that kind of raw backyard engineering, hit that like and subscribe button right now. Thank you. Roaring in at number 5 is the Magni M-16. This Italian-born tandem 2-seat autogyro is powered by a high-revving, turbocharged Rotax 914 engine, pure power. It features a sleek composite open cockpit that completely exposes the pilot and passenger to the raw elements. Weighing in at just under 600 pounds empty, it is incredibly agile. The overhead rotor provides constant lift. Meanwhile, the powerful pusher propeller in the back thrusts you forward at exhilarating speeds, maxing out at over 100 miles per hour in straight flight. Listen closely, and you can almost hear that high-pitched Rotax whine. The M16 looks and acts exactly like a flying motorcycle. It offers a visceral wind-in-your-face experience that traditional enclosed airplanes simply cannot match. It completely demands a pilot who wants to feel every single shift in the wind and hear the mechanical symphony of the engine right behind their head. The controls are highly responsive. This gives you the ability to perform tight, banking turns that would make a conventional pilot extremely nervous. Though it is primarily factory-built today, the Magni lineage evolved directly from gritty experimental routes and remains highly accessible to sport pilots around the globe. The open cockpit is an absolute blast in the warm summer months, but to solve the problem of freezing cross-country flights, German engineers decided to enclose the pilot in a futuristic sci-fi pod. Prepare yourself for a gyroplane that looks like it was ripped straight out of a James Bond movie, offering both extreme performance and premium all-weather comfort. Taking the number 4 spot is the Autogyro Calidus. The Calidus features a fully enclosed, highly aerodynamic composite fuselage, housing a reliable Rotax engine pushing 115 horsepower. Impressive, it is a tandem-seat gyroplane specifically designed for high-speed, all-weather touring across long distances. It looks significantly less like a traditional aircraft and much more like a sleek flying bullet cutting through the thick atmosphere. With a maximum cruise speed approaching 120 miles per hour, it effortlessly keeps pace with standard light sport aircraft. This sophisticated machine represents the premium luxury evolution of the backyard autogyro. While early gyros were cheap, greasy garage builds pieced together from scrap metal, the Calidus commands a premium price tag that easily rivals high-end sports cars. It conclusively proved that experimental rotorcraft could be just as comfortable and technologically advanced as a commercial jet. Inside the heated cabin, pilots monitor advanced glass panel avionics. They are completely shielded from the freezing wind, while still enjoying the unparalleled maneuverability of a free-spinning overhead rotor system. It is currently one of the most popular and reliable gyroplanes sold globally, heavily utilized by airborne law enforcement units and private touring pilots alike. Sleek modern fiberglass is undeniably beautiful, but what if you wanted to fly a machine that looks like it escaped directly from the Jurassic period? Our next entry takes aerodynamic convention, tears it into tiny pieces, and replaces it with a mechanical dinosaur. It relies on a tiny snowmobile engine to violently push it into the open sky. Screaming in at number 3 is the Pterodactyl Ascender. Designed by Jack McCormick in the late 1970s, this is a wildly unconventional ultralight, tailless canard pusher aircraft. Powered by a tiny Cuyuna snowmobile engine putting out just over 30 horsepower. It uses weight shift dynamics and massive wingtip rudders for directional control. The entire airframe is constructed from exposed aluminum tubing and brightly colored Dacron sailcloth. Weighing a ridiculously light 250 pounds empty, it looks exactly like a giant, brightly colored prehistoric bird. This mechanical dinosaur was designed specifically to exploit federal ultralight aviation loopholes. Because it weighed so incredibly little and carried only one person, absolutely no official pilot's license was required to fly it. Total freedom. Taking off in this wire-braced, fabric-covered contraption was the ultimate act of grassroots rebellion. It allowed anyone with a few $1,000s to proudly claim their own piece of the sky. The pilot sits entirely out in the open, suspended beneath the sweeping wings, feeling every single bump of atmospheric turbulence. Surviving Ascenders are now very rare, becoming highly coveted collector's items and carefully preserved within the vintage ultralight community. A flying mechanical dinosaur is undeniably wild, but if you strip away the internal combustion engine completely and rely solely on human muscle, you get a machine that defies biological limits. The next aircraft on our list completely redefines the concept of horsepower by replacing it with sheer human endurance, creating a massive fragile skeleton that literally flaps its own wings to stay airborne against all odds. Struggling into the air at number 2 is the UTIAS Snowbird. Built by engineering students at the University of Toronto, this is a fully functional human-powered ornithopter. It boasts a massive 104-foot wingspan, constructed from advanced carbon fiber and lightweight balsa wood. Yet, the entire sprawling airframe weighs an astonishingly light 94 pounds. There is absolutely no fuel tank, no battery pack, and no hidden electric motor. The entire aircraft relies purely on the physical strength of the person sitting inside. The brave pilot literally pedals a highly specialized internal drivetrain to physically flap the massive sweeping wings. The primary danger here isn't just catastrophic structural collapse from the extreme wing flex. It is the sheer, brutal physical exhaustion required to keep this massive skeleton in the air. The pilot acts as both the captain and the engine simultaneously. Pushing the pedals requires an explosive burst of athletic power. It rapidly drains the pilot's energy reserves, while the aircraft slowly gains a few precious feet of altitude. Only one working model was ever successfully built, making incredible aviation history with a sustained 19-second flight before being permanently retired to a museum. Flapping your own massive wings is the ultimate human physical feat, but the machine taking our legendary number 1 spot solves the ultimate logistical nightmare, driving straight off the runway. Get ready to witness a flawless fusion of automotive engineering and aerodynamic design. It allowed a visionary inventor to literally park his personal airplane inside a standard suburban home garage. Taking the legendary number 1 spot is the Taylor Aerocar. Moulton Taylor's crowning achievement is a fully rotatable aircraft, powered by a highly reliable Lycoming air-cooled engine producing 150 horsepower. The absolute genius of the Aerocar is that the wings and tail section fold up into a custom compact trailer. The car section literally tows its own flight surfaces behind it down the highway like a small camper. It cruises comfortably at 60 miles per hour before seamlessly transforming back into an airplane. Pitched heavily in the 1950s for roughly $25,000, it was the ultimate post-war American dream. It was a brilliant machine that completely bypassed expensive airport tie-down fees by letting you park your airplane right in your driveway. The incredibly complex engineering required to seamlessly link the car's manual transmission to the rear-mounted aircraft propeller remains an absolute masterclass in mechanical design. Transforming the vehicle from a street-legal car into a flight-ready airplane could be done by one person in just 5 minutes. Only a tiny handful of these magnificent transforming machines were ever officially completed, and today, they are multi-million-dollar museum unicorns. The Aerocar remains the most ambitious, logic-defying piece of home-built engineering ever brought to life by a single visionary. These 10 machines are not just crazy designs, They represent the relentless, uncompromising spirit of American innovation. They are real solutions forged in home garages with chromoly steel, aluminum tubing, and sheer willpower, proving that the sky belongs to anyone brave enough to build their own wings. Now, I want to hear from the experts in the comments. What is the absolute craziest thing you have ever tried to build in your own garage? And if you had an empty runway, would you rather test your luck in the open-air AW-95 helicopter or cruise the highway in the Taylor Aerocar? Let me know down below. Do not forget to hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more heavy machinery. Deep dives every single week.